The twin moons of Kestrel 9 hung like silver coins in the ink-black sky, casting pale light across the sprawling salvage yard. Marcus Thorne wiped grease from his hands with a rag that had long ago surrendered to permanent staining. The mechanical arm he'd been repairing for the past 3 hours finally whirred to life, its joints moving smoothly. "There we go," he muttered to himself. The only person for miles who might care. Kestrel 9 wasn't much a frontier moon where people came to disappear or to find things others had thrown away. Marcus had been here for 5 years, ever since the accident that took his wife. The salvage yard had become his refuge, a place where broken things made sense because you could fix them. People were Messier. The crash happened at 2:47 a.m. Marcus was halfway through his nightly cup of bitter tea when the sky split open with a streak of burning light. The impact shook his small cabin, rattling tools off the walls. He grabbed his coat and a flashlight, his heart hammering as he ran toward the crash site. Smoke rose from a crater near the eastern edge of his property, where a sleek escape pod had carved a violent path through the red dirt. The pod's hull was scorched black, its emergency lights flickering weakly. Marcus approached carefully, years of frontier living teaching him caution. The hatch was already open, hanging at an awkward angle. Inside, she lay crumpled against the far wall. Marcus's breath caught. Even in the dim light, he could see she was badly hurt. Blood matted her short dark hair, and her left side was soaked crimson. Her skin had an unusual olive-gray tone that marked her as Velasian, one of the humanoid species from the inner systems. She wore tactical gear, torn and burned, with weapons strapped to her thighs. Her eyes opened suddenly sharp gray and filled with a predator's awareness. "Don't," she gasped, one hand moving weakly toward a weapon. "Easy," Marcus said, raising his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you. You're on my land. You need help." She studied him with those piercing eyes, calculating, measuring threat levels even as consciousness slipped from her grasp. No ... hospitals. No ... authorities. "Okay," Marcus said, though every instinct told him this was a terrible idea. "Can you walk?" She tried to rise and immediately collapsed. Marcus caught her before she hit the metal floor. She was lighter than he expected, but he could feel the coiled strength in her frame a fighter's body, lean and dangerous. He carried her to his cabin, her head lolling against his shoulder. She mumbled something in a language he didn't understand. Inside, he laid her on his workbench, the only surface large enough, and cleared away the mechanical debris. The next 2 hours were a blur of emergency, medical supplies he'd never expected to use. Marcus had basic field training from his years working salvage in dangerous territories, but this was beyond his skill level. Still, he cleaned wounds, sealed the worst of them with medical adhesive, and wrapped her torso in synthetic bandages. She woke twice. The first time, she grabbed his wrist with surprising strength, her eyes wild. The second time, she simply watched him work, too weak to resist. "You're going to be okay," Marcus said, though he wasn't sure if he believed it. "Why?" She whispered, the word barely audible. "Because it's the right thing to do." She passed out again before he could say more. Dawn came slowly to Kestrel 9, the red sun climbing over jagged mountains. Marcus sat in his chair by the workbench, exhausted, watching his unexpected patient breathe. In the morning light, he could see her features more clearly, sharp cheekbones, a small scar above her right eyebrow, lips pressed thin even in unconsciousness. He needed supplies. Medical supplies he didn't have. The town of Rusthaven was 40 minutes away by speeder. Marcus left a glass of water within reach of the workbench and a note that said simply, "Be back soon. Don't run off. You'll tear your stitches." Rusthaven lived up to its name, a collection of fabricated buildings and converted cargo containers where frontier folk traded salvage and stories. Marcus headed straight for Tessa's general supply, a shop that somehow stocked everything. From reactor parts to antibiotics, he was gathering what he needed when the holoscreens threw out. The shop suddenly blazed to life. Breaking news alert, a synthetic voice announced. Galactic Security Bureau has issued a level red bounty for the fugitive known as Sienna Corvax. Marcus's blood turned to ice. The woman's face filled every screen. Same sharp features, same gray eyes, same small scar above her eyebrow. Her image rotated, showing her from multiple angles. Sienna Corvax is wanted for the assassination of Senator Draven Marsh and 23 counts of murder for hire. She is considered extremely dangerous and is trained in advanced combat techniques. Bounty is set at 15 million credits. Do not approach. Report any sightings to local authorities immediately. The screens showed footage security camera images of a woman in black moving through a corridor like smoke, leaving bodies in her wake. Then a clearer shot, her face cold and expressionless as she aimed a weapon at someone off camera. Ruthless assassin, the voice continued. Former operative of the Shadow Syndicate. No known associates. No known weaknesses. Marcus stood frozen, his hands full of medical supplies. Around him, other customers whispered and stared at the screens. 15 million, someone breathed. For that kind of money, ... She's probably dead already, another voice said. They don't offer that much unless she's a real threat. Marcus paid quickly, keeping his face neutral, and left. His hands trembled on the speeder's controls as he raced back to his salvage yard. His mind spun with possibilities, each one worse than the last. He'd brought an assassin into his home. A killer worth 15 million credits. She could murder him in his sleep. She probably would, once she recovered enough. But then he remembered the way she'd looked at him in the escape pod, not with cruelty, but with desperate hope. The way she'd whispered, "Why?" As if kindness was a foreign language. She couldn't translate. Marcus pulled up to his cabin and sat in the speeder for a long moment, gathering his courage. Through the window, he could see her silhouette. She was sitting up now, awake and alert. He grabbed the supplies and walked inside. Their eyes met across the room. In the daylight streaming through the windows, her gray eyes looked almost silver. She didn't reach for a weapon. She simply waited. "You saw the broadcast," she said. Not a question. "Yeah, and yet you came back." Marcus set the supplies on the table. "You said no hospitals, no authorities." "I'm keeping my word." Sienna, he knew her name, now tilted her head slightly, studying him like he was a puzzle with pieces that didn't fit. "I'm worth 15 million credits. Dead or alive, I know. Most people would have called it in by now. Collected the bounty. Why haven't you?" Marcus pulled up a chair and sat down, suddenly tired. "Because 5 years ago, someone showed me mercy when they didn't have to. I've been trying to figure out how to pay that forward ever since." She was quiet for a long moment. Outside, the red wind whistled through the salvage yard, making the metal structures creak and groan. "I've killed people," Sienna said finally. "The broadcast isn't wrong about that. I figured." "And you're still going to help me?" Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. Beyond the weapons and the scars and the deadly reputation, he saw something else. Exhaustion. The kind that came from running too long with nowhere to go. "I don't know your story," he said quietly. "But I know mine. And I know that broken things deserve a chance to be fixed, not thrown away." Something shifted in her expression, so subtle he almost missed it. The hard edge in her eyes softened, just for a heartbeat. "You're an idiot," she said, but there was no venom in it. "Yeah," Marcus agreed. "Probably." He stood and brought over the fresh medical supplies. As he changed her bandages, neither of them spoke. But the silence felt different, Now not comfortable exactly, but less dangerous. Like maybe, just maybe, they'd both found something unexpected on this lonely frontier moon. Outside, the twin moons began their slow descent toward the horizon. And in the salvage yard, full of broken things, two souls tried to figure out if they could piece together something whole. 3 days passed like a held breath. Sienna healed faster than Marcus expected, though she moved carefully, favoring her left side. She didn't talk much, but her eyes followed him, constantly watching, analyzing, cataloging every movement he made. It should have made him uncomfortable. Instead, Marcus found himself hyper-aware of her presence in ways that had nothing to do with fear. She was beautiful in a dangerous way, like a blade catching the light. On the 4th morning, Marcus woke to find her standing by the window, silhouetted against the dawn. She'd changed out of her torn tactical gear into clothes. He'd left out a simple gray shirt and dark pants that hung loose on her frame. "You should still be resting," he said. "I've rested. Enough." Her voice was rough from disuse. "I need to move or I'll go insane." Marcus made coffee, real coffee, not the synthetic stuff most people drank on the frontier. He'd been saving it for something special, though he wasn't sure when healing an assassin had become a special occasion. He handed her a cup. Their fingers brushed. Sienna pulled back as if burned. "Sorry," Marcus said automatically. "Don't apologize." She wrapped both hands around the cup, breathing in the steam. "I'm not used to this. Coffee? Kindness." The word came out bitter. "People don't give things freely in my world. Everything has a price." Marcus leaned against the counter. "What's the price here?" Sienna met his eyes. "I don't know yet. That's what worries me." Before he could respond, the comm unit on the wall chimed. Marcus frowned. He rarely got calls. He pressed the accept button, and a holographic projection flickered to life. The man who appeared was handsome in an unsettling way, too symmetrical, too perfect. His dark hair was swept back, and he wore an expensive coat that looked out of place on a frontier transmission. His smile was charming and cold. "Greetings," the man said. "My name is Dante Rourke. I'm a licensed recovery agent, and I'm looking for information about a crashed vessel in this sector." Marcus kept his expression neutral. "Don't know anything about that." "Really?" Dante's smile widened. "Because debris signatures suggest an escape pod came down near these coordinates 3 days ago. Your property, if I'm not mistaken. Lots of things crash on Kestrel 9. Doesn't mean I know about them." "Of course." Dante's eyes gleamed. "Well, if you happen to see anything unusual, or anyone, there's a substantial reward available. 15 million credits is enough to change a life, wouldn't you agree?" "I'll keep that in mind." "Please do. I'll be in Rust Haven for the next few days, asking around friendly questions." Dante's smile turned sharp. "I'm very good at getting answers, Mr. Thorne. Very good indeed." The transmission ended. Marcus turned to find Sienna pressed against the wall beside the window, a blade in her hand that seemed to have materialized from nowhere. Her eyes were wild, dangerous, the predator fully awakened. "He knows," she said. "He suspects. Same thing." She moved toward the door. "I need to leave, now, before he finds proof." "Wait." Marcus stepped in front of her. "You're still healing. You won't make it far. I'll make it far enough." "To where?" "You have no ship, no supplies, and half the galaxy hunting you." He held her gaze. "Stay, just a little longer." "Let me help." "Why?" The word exploded from her. "Why do you keep helping me?" "What do you want?" "Nothing. Everyone wants something." "Not from you." Marcus's voice softened. "Maybe I just want to do something good in a universe that's been pretty damn dark for a while." Sienna stared at him, her chest heaving. Slowly, the blade lowered. You're going to get yourself killed. Wouldn't be the first time I've taken a stupid risk. Something flickered across her face, surprise, maybe, or confusion. She slid the blade back into its hidden sheath and turned away. I don't understand you, Marcus Thorne. Good. Keeps things interesting. That afternoon, Marcus worked in the salvage yard, while Sienna watched from the doorway. He was stripping components from an old freighter hull, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. You're good at that, Sienna observed. Had a lot of practice. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead. My wife and I used to run this place together. She was better at the delicate work navigation systems, computer course. I handled the heavy lifting. It was the first time he'd mentioned his wife. Sienna was quiet for a moment. What happened to her? Accident. A salvage mission went wrong 3 systems over. She was on the crew. Marcus's hands stilled. I was supposed to be with her, but I stayed behind to close a deal. Thought it was important. He laughed bitterly. Spent 5 years out here trying to figure out if I'm hiding or punishing myself. Maybe both. Yeah, maybe. Sienna stepped closer, moving into the workspace. She picked up a circuit board, examining it with surprising knowledge. This is Vex glass. Rare, worth good money. You know salvage? I know a lot of things. She set the board down carefully. Had to learn fast growing up. The syndicate doesn't train you for one specialty. They train you to be useful in every situation. The Shadow Syndicate. Marcus had heard rumors. Everyone had. How did you end up with them? Sienna's expression closed off. That's not a story for today. They worked in silence after that, but it was a different kind of silence, companionable, almost comfortable. Marcus found himself stealing glances at her, watching the way she moved with economical grace, the way her brow furrowed when she concentrated. When their hands reached for the same tool, their fingers tangled. This time, Sienna didn't pull away immediately. She looked at their hands, then up at his face, something vulnerable flickering in her gray eyes. Marcus. A speeder's engine roared in the distance. They both tensed. Sienna's hand went to her concealed blade. Marcus moved to the doorway, squinting against the red sunlight. A sleek black speeder pulled up to the salvage yard's entrance. Dante Rourke stepped out, his perfect smile gleaming. Mr. Thorne, he called out cheerfully. Hope I'm not interrupting. Marcus walked out to meet him, positioning himself to block the view of the workshop. What can I do for you? Just doing my due diligence. Asking questions, following leads. Dante's eyes scanned the salvage yard. This is quite the operation you have here. Must get lonely, working alone. I like the quiet, of course. Dante pulled out a small holographic projector. Sienna's face appeared, rotating slowly. Have you seen this woman? Sienna Corvax. Very dangerous. Last track to this sector. Marcus forced himself to look at the image, to show just the right amount of interest. No, haven't seen anyone like that. You're certain? She's injured, probably desperate. Might have sought shelter. I'm certain. Dante studied him for a long moment. His smile never wavered, but his eyes were calculating, cold. You know, Mr. Thorne, I've been doing this work for 15 years. I've learned to read people. And right now, you're reading like a man with something to hide. Everyone on the frontier has something to hide. That's why we're here. True. Dante pocketed the projector. But some secrets are worth 15 million credits. That's enough money to leave this dusty moon, start fresh somewhere civilized. Buy a new life? I like my life just fine. Do you? Dante gestured at the salvage yard. Alone out here, surrounded by broken things, hiding from whatever pain drove you here? He leaned closer. I see you, Marcus Thorne. I see the guilt in your eyes. Whatever you're running from, 15 million could ease that burden. Marcus's jaw tightened. I think you should leave. I'll be in town, watching, waiting. Dante's smile turned predatory. Everyone makes a mistake eventually. When she does, I'll be there. He climbed back into his speeder and drove away, leaving a trail of red dust. Marcus stood there for a long moment, his heart pounding. When he turned back, Sienna was standing in the workshop doorway, her face pale. He knows, she said again. He suspects. There's a difference. Not for long. She moved past him, pacing like a caged animal. He's a hunter. A good one. He'll watch, he'll wait, and the moment he has proof, he'll strike. Marcus grabbed her arm gently. Then we don't give him proof. Sienna looked down at his hand on her arm, and up at his face. Why are you doing this, really? Don't tell me it's about kindness or second chances. There has to be more. Marcus held her gaze. When my wife died, I shut down. Stopped living. Just ... existed. For 5 years. I've been going through motions in this salvage yard, surrounded by broken things, because I felt broken too. He released her arm. Then you crashed into my life, literally, and for the first time in 5 years, I feel like I'm doing something that matters. Like maybe I can still make a difference. By saving a killer? By saving a person. Sienna's breath hitched. She turned away, but not before he saw moisture in her eyes. You don't know what I've done. Tell me. No. Why not? Because then you'd stop looking at me the way you do. Her voice was barely a whisper. And I'm not ready for that yet. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Marcus stepped closer, careful, like approaching something wild that might bolt. Sienna. She spun to face him, and suddenly they were inches apart. He could see flecks of blue in her gray eyes, could feel the heat radiating from her body, could count the shallow breaths she took. This is a mistake, she said, but she didn't move away. Probably. I'm dangerous. I know. I'll bring nothing but trouble. I figured. Her hand came up, trembling, and touched his face. The gesture was hesitant, as if she'd forgotten how to be gentle. You should turn me in. Collect the bounty. Save yourself. Marcus covered her hand with his. I don't want to save myself. I want to save you. I'm not worth saving. Let me be the judge of that. For a moment, the universe contracted to just the two of them, a lonely salvage dealer and a deadly assassin, two broken people trying to figure out if they could fit their jagged edges together. Then Sienna pulled back, the moment shattering. I need air. She walked out into the salvage yard, and Marcus let her go. He watched her stand beneath the twin moons, her silhouette sharp against the night sky, and wondered what the hell he was doing. Falling for an assassin. That's what he was doing. And despite everything, the danger, the bounty, the hunter in town, Marcus couldn't bring himself to regret it. In Rust Haven, Dante Rourke sat in a corner booth at the local cantina, reviewing surveillance footage on his datapad. He'd planted micro-drones around the salvage yard, barely visible against the red dirt dot. The footage showed two figures in the workshop. The man, Marcus Thorne, lonely salvage dealer, and a woman. Dark hair, gray eyes, moving with lethal grace. Dante smiled and raised his glass in a silent toast. Found you, Sienna Corvex, he murmured. Now let's see how long your protector's conscience lasts when the real hunters arrive. He pressed send on a message, transmitting the footage to a very specific, very dangerous recipient. The hunt was about to get much more interesting.